Today is very exciting. We're going for a trek in the Kibale Forest National Park to look for the wild chimpanzees. So let's see what we find. So we arrived quite early in the morning. Everyone's arriving at the same time with their guides, and it takes a little bit of time. We have to get our permits checked, so you have to get it before you come, usually many months in advance, so make sure you do that.
Because you have limited places, because only groups of 8 people can go see the chimps at a time.
Yeah. Then you have a little briefing, so you sit in a room and they talk to you about the risks and how to behave if the chimps come close to you. And then they separate you into groups of 8 people and you start trekking with a ranger. So each group has an armed ranger.
Yeah, the reason the ranger is armed is because you could come across a bush elephant in the forest, and they're pretty aggressive and quite dangerous. So it's just for protection, basically.
But we didn't encounter any elephants. So then we start walking. The walk is quite easy. It's quite flat, and there's a few paths around, so it's pretty easy, and you just walk around. We were not very lucky actually on the day we did the walk.
Yeah, because it was raining all morning, so all the leaves were wet, and the chimps don't like to have to walk around the wet leaves, so they stay high up in the trees, and they were just feeding until really late in the morning. So we could spot a few from like a very far distance. But yeah, we had to be really patient because there were no chimps walking around.
We kept going maybe for 3 hours, just kind of walking around in the same area because that's where they were, but they were just high up in trees. Very easy walk, just a little bit of mud wasn't too bad at all. Then we started to hear them. So thankfully we had a big zoom so we could get a few images, but the quality is not so good. And yeah, eventually all groups were kind of coming together where a few of the chimps were. So yeah, there were quite a few people. And suddenly one of the chimps just came down a tree, and then everyone kind of just rushed behind him. So it was a little bit weird.
It's a bit chaotic. Like everybody was trying to get a good photo of the chimp from up close, but the chimp just walked like really fast and like went back up the tree like straight away.
Yeah. But then another one came back down, who was actually the alpha male, And again, he was going a bit further in the forest, and then we had to put our masks on because they can get human diseases.
And then the most unlikely thing happened. So the chief, the king of the forest, the king of all the chimps of the forest, like just walked straight to me and decided to sit like right next to me, like probably half a meter. So excited, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was just like completely frozen, and then he just like stayed there and stared around like at people, just like you could tell he was like judging them, like, oh, who the hell are these people? What do they want?
Stop when he stops. Stop. No.
And then at the end, when we were going back, we saw those little monkeys that are apparently pretty rare.
I would definitely recommend seeing the chimpanzees in the wild if you get a chance, but make sure you book in advance, especially for the permits, because they're pretty limited. In the next video we'll show you the Queen Elizabeth National Park, where we did a few safaris there, and we had an amazing encounter with one of the rarest African animals, but you'll see that in the next video.